kind of being comfortable with perhaps not explaining everything perfectly, which can kind of suck because, again, the reality is you probably have to drop down, become worse before you can get better. You've got to ask a question, but it's taking you a long time to formulate that in your head.
Yeah, exactly.
By the time you actually get it out, everybody's kind of sitting and thinking like, yeah, I get it. It's a very common problem. The first thing really is it's repetition. Repetition is the key there. The second thing is kind of being comfortable with perhaps not explaining everything perfectly, which can kind of suck because, again, the reality is you probably have to drop down, become worse before you can get better because you've really got to change the way that you do it. One thing that I would say is if you were able to prepare for these questions in advance, that would make your life a lot easier. The reality is you probably can't do that because if you don't know the answer to the question, you probably don't know what the question is going to be in advance anyway. So I would just not worry too much about it is the honest advice there. Just kind of understand that it will get easier over time. Also, doing all of the things that we've done in the course is going to help. It's not just about asking these questions. It's really about attuning your brain to these kind of two different ways of approaching English and being in English speaker mode when we're actually doing things. And that is really only going to come from doing more in English over time. And it can take a lot of time, but it does build up slowly. Doing anything in English is going to help. Absolutely. Because it's all about, again, it's about raising activation. But the more you can expose yourself to the specific stuff that you're going to be exposed to in that conference, the better you'll do. Also, if you can find recordings of past conferences, similar conferences, try and integrate that into your usage time if you can. And it doesn't have to be complicated, but it can be as simple as perhaps having it on in the background whilst you are doing the cleaning or whatever it is that you're doing. You can also use those as your study materials as well. And what you're really trying to do there is look for the very, very topic specific language that might be slowing you down, because it's possible that the reason you're having to think about it too much is because although you've learned a lot and you've activated a lot and you've got a lot sharpened up, there are probably holes in what you've got that are very, very, very specific to that situation that are still half asleep. And therefore, this is kind of an extreme analogy, but it's kind of similar to the studying newspapers and hoping to get good at conversation kind of thing. The closer you can get your exposure and study to the actual situations where you're going to use English, the better. Just to summarize everything I've said is, one, don't worry about it too much because it will come with time. But two, it's really about repetition, exposing yourself to the language of those conferences as much as possible, and perhaps integrating that into your intensive study time too, if it's important enough.